One of the number one posts on my Facebook page over the weekend, at least it got the most attention. I posted the details. South Carolina's House passed permitless carry by a 90 to 18 margin. Now it goes on. Likely Governor Nikki Haley of South Carolina is going to sign it. She's being considered as a vice presidential candidate for the Republican Party next year. I'm sure she's not going to step into that chuck hole and bust up her chances. 923, Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. 45. Want to remind you on Wednesday between 8:30 and 9 o'clock in the morning, we're going to be talking health, better health actually, with Tripp Family Medicine right here on the radio. And of course, we'll be joined by one of the medical professionals from Tripp Family Medicine, which is located in Twin Falls on Fillmore Street, directly across from the main post office. And we do this every week. We give you an opportunity, to telephone and actually ask a friendly voice about medical issues, whether it be something that involves you directly or a family member or a friend. This is that opportunity. And the doctor or the physician assistant or the nurse practitioner, whoever we have in studio each week, will take some time and actually share what they know with you. And we hope they can point you then in the right direction. So we remind you to tune in again Wednesday between 8:30 and 9 o'clock. We do this every Wednesday. Better health with Tripp Family Medicine. And remember, life's too short not to feel good. Speaking of guns, do you know who this comedian Amy Schumer is? I'd never heard of her until a few months ago, and now all of a sudden, this woman's name is popping up everywhere. She has an uncle who serves in the U.S. Senate. I've known him, speaking of clowns. I've known Chuck Schumer now going back about 20, 25 years. One time got into an argument with him at a news conference. Not hard to do. He is what they call a media whore. The old line from, who was it? He's long gone now from U.S. politics, but Bob Dole once said the most dangerous place to be in Washington was between Chuck Schumer and a camera. Schumer has a reputation, knowing that Sundays are a slow news day in New York City, which is his hometown. Also that New York City is where he gets most of his votes for U.S. Senate in New York State, and that it's also the home to the major networks in this country. He will go out and conduct stunts on Sundays so he can get on the news, because he figured out long ago on slow news days, if you put together a pretty good dog and pony show with a lot of good graphics and the like, you'll get yourself on the air. So he promotes himself that way. He's a very good marketer. I give him that, even though I think that his politics are so wacky at times that no sane person, and we mentioned New York City already, but no sane person would vote for this guy. So he and his niece showed up yesterday at a news conference. It got local attention, and it got national attention as well. And they were talking about a gun plan they have. Well, you better be careful if you own firearms.
Here's what Amy and I are backing. First, ending the fatal loopholes that allow people to purchase guns online and at gun shows. First Amendment, we treasure it, but you can't falsely scream fire in a crowded theater. You can't libel someone. Child pornography is against the law. There are reasonable limits on the Second Amendment as well.
With the leadership of Chuck and the members of the Senate, they've crafted a bold plan to address gun violence.
You know, when he says there are limits on the First Amendment, you can't, shout fire at a crowded movie theater. Well, Chuck, you can't already go outside and shoot your neighbor without provocation. You'll get arrested and you'll be charged either with, manslaughter or homicide, murder, if that neighbor dies in that situation. So who does he think we are? And then the other part, we're going to close loopholes at gun shows. There are no loopholes at gun shows. You buy from someone at a gun show, they're going to do a check on you. That's baloney. And it shows you that they understand that, using the language in a certain way makes it sound as if there is going to be some great change here. I'd like to see Chuck Schumer go door to door and try to confiscate people's firearms. In fact, over at the Wall Street Journal, a writer named Nicholas Johnson says, in the wake of horrific shootings like the one we have in Oregon, the political opportunists always jump up and they always shout, here's what we're going to do. They'll tell you that they're going to go and take away your guns just like happened in Australia. Well, there's a huge difference between Australian culture and U.S. culture, and he breaks that down and says even if you got the same percentage of firearms off the streets, Americans then would not have 370 million firearms. Americans would have about 270 million firearms. Still more than enough to defend themselves in most cases. He says the interplay allows progressive politicians to claim they have no interest in gun confiscation and still wax heroic about lost battles over glittery legislative proposals that in practice would not have prevented the crimes that they claim that they would. And then, he gets into some details on this. He even talks about the old, quote, assault weapons ban. First of all, if you shoot someone, that's an assault weapon. If you chop someone up with a hatchet, that's an assault weapon. If you punch someone, your fist is an assault weapon. So, what are we talking about when it comes down to defining this? Well, assault weapons, what they were talking about, the grip and adjustable stocks. That was all. And it was a very finite, it was a very small number of firearms that were actually sold in this country. So they said, we're going to have a ban. It expired. But most homicides that come on city streets across the country are generally involving handguns. And people can come up with all sorts of innovative ways to get their own hands on handguns, or even build their own, for crying out loud. So all of this is just, even in Oregon, they came out and they made all of their noise, and then it was discovered, well, he wasn't carrying anything that you're making noise about. Oops, then they all crawl back in their holes for a while. 9:30, Bill, and what is this? Bringing out a comedian to talk about taking your guns away? Give me a break. Only in New York City could that even fly. And then I don't think it would there. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX. This permitless carry that's going on, it looks like it'll become law in South Carolina. Something to consider, I would think, in a great many places, wouldn't you?